Okay, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the open meeting for Thursday, March 23rd, 2023, and ask the Commission Secretary for information on today's agenda.
Each commissioner has independently reviewed the minutes of the open meeting of Thursday, March 16th, 2023, and each has informed me there is no need to discuss the minutes.
I move we approve the minutes of Thursday, March 16th, 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Each commissioner has independently reviewed the agenda, and each has informed me there's no need to discuss the notices associated with agenda items 2 through 8. The suggested minute associated with agenda item 9, approving the opening of a docket as both to the complaint and the petition for declaratory ruling related to the Deer Hills development located in the village of Roberts, St. Croix County, Wisconsin, and directing preparation of a notice of proceeding to be signed by the secretary, and directing staff and the ALJ to work with the parties to establish the process and schedule, and if necessary, convene a pre-hearing conference. Or the suggested minute associated with agenda item 11, dismissing the Diggers Hotline referred complaints by joint execution of a consent agreement with Wiederholt Enterprises, LLC, and accepting the proposed consent agreement as drafted.
I move we approve the notices of investigation associated with agenda items 2 through 6.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move we approve the notices of proceeding associated with agenda items 7 and 8.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
For agenda item 9 in docket 4220 DR 112, I move that we open a docket as to both the complaint and the petition for declaratory ruling proceeding consistent with the Secretary's description.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And for agenda item 11, docket 9300 PLI 123, I move that we dismiss the Diggers Hotline referred complaints by joint execution of a consent agreement with Wiederholt Enterprises, LLC, and take the actions consistent with the Secretary's description.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. That moves us to agenda item 10, which is docket 5330-CC-236557. This is a request for a formal review of a complaint filed by Mr. Charles Dorn against Sharon Waterworks and Sewer System. In April of 2022, we received an informal complaint from Mr. Dorn against Sharon Waterworks and Sewer System regarding a back bill that had been sent to Mr. Dorn, as well as a charge for a damaged meter. In September of 2022, after investigating, Commission staff issued its informal determination letter that Sharon had properly billed Mr. Dorn. In October of 2022, Mr. Dorn requested formal review within the statutory timeframe that is allowed. So our determination whether or not to order a formal hearing is discretionary. And for this one, in particular, based on staff's informal complaint file, I find no basis upon which to open a formal review of the complaint. I think it's pretty clear. There was an actual meter read taken on September 28th of 2020, and then another actual meter read taken again on February 9th of 2022. So the difference between those two actual meter reads is what was consumed, and therefore under Wisconsin law, what should be billed, taking away the estimated bill amounts that were paid in between those periods of time. I will also note that Sharon originally issued a back bill that was checked by our commission staff. Commission staff found an error of $2.80. So Wisconsin law is very clear, and that requires that all consumed services must be billed within 2 years. And there is no doubt in my mind that the meter was continuing to measure the consumption. It just couldn't transmit that signal because the wires were cut. So in Wisconsin, again, the law is clear. If you consume it, you've got to be billed for it. Once you're billed for it, you have to pay for it. And so for this, I am at alternative 2. I would deny Mr. Dorn's request for a formal review of his complaint. Commissioner Huebner?
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with you on the water usage, and I think the piece that I guess I was convinced by the statements that were provided by Mr. Dorn, and then the last one he filed, this Mr. Lowry, who was a former meter installer for the Sharon Public Works Department, about the meter itself and the $125 charge. It appears to me that there's sufficient evidence that, that meter was never hooked up correctly, and so Mr. Dorn wouldn't be subject to that. So that's why I would be at Alt 1 to open the investigation, more focused on that than the usage, which I agree with you, the way the law is written. So I was at Alternative 1.
Okay. Commissioner Strand.
I was also at Alternative 2, like the chairperson. I believe we have a very solid, thorough record that staff has investigated this, and nothing in that swayed me any differently. I think, like you said, even though maybe the information wasn't being transmitted from the meter, I believe the usage was being accurately measured, and Mr. Dorn should have to pay for that usage. So I'm at Alternative 2.
Okay. Now we just need a motion.
Yeah, Commissioner Strand, could you make a motion on that?
For agenda item 10-5330 CC 236557, I move Alternative 2 to deny the request for a formal review.
All in favor? Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
No, thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Then we move to agenda item 11. No, we don't. We move to agenda item 12. Just kidding. This is docket 9818-CE-100. This is a motion filed by Clean Wisconsin for an interlocutory review of an oral ruling made by the administrative law judge on February 15th of this year. Though the timeline has passed, we have it within our discretion to take this up, even after the statutory time has elapsed. And in this particular case, Clean Wisconsin was excluded. They're being prohibited via the judge's oral ruling, being prohibited from admitting a study into the record. And there were concerns that perhaps because the study takes a look at the whole state of Wisconsin, that study lacks probative value. I completely disagree. I think that this is the exact type of testimony that we should be allowing in these cases. And I think for any of those who have been keeping score from home, I am a huge proponent of allowing evidence into the record. And then it is our job and responsibility to sift through that information to ultimately determine what falls within and outside of the parameters of the statutes that we are interpreting. And so it's not as or it's not as strict a standard as you would see in regular civil litigation. My preference is that we would be admitting all testimony that has reasonable probative value. And certainly, there have been discussions about whether or not it is in the best interest to be using agricultural land for the siting, in particular, of solar generating facilities. And I would like to see the study. If I then read it and I deem it that it doesn't apply to the underlying docket, then that's a decision that I'll make at that time. But I would allow that information to be admitted into the record. Now, there's a timing issue. So if Clean Wisconsin cannot incorporate the inclusion of that study into their direct testimony, which is due tomorrow, then my preference would be to have Clean Wisconsin file supplemental direct with the info no later than April 5th. And then the remaining of the ordered schedule put forth by the ALJ can stand, and parties who wish to respond to that supplemental direct can do so in accordance with the ordered schedule for rebuttal testimony, which is April 21st. So I'm at Alt 1 with that guidance on timing. Commissioner Huebner?
I'm in the same spot. And similarly to what you said, I'll just repeat that I like to have as much probative value, record evidence in front of us, and then we are the weighers of that evidence. So I would be at the same spot, and I'm completely fine with your schedule and recommendation on that.
Okay, great. Commissioner Strand?
I agree with you guys. I think initially I was concerned about the timing of things, but if you balance the need for this information versus and our discretionary opportunities here, I think I'm at alternative one as well.
Okay, great.
Great. In docket 9818 CE 100, I move that we grant the motion for interlocutory review and allow the inclusion of the study and adjust the schedule consistent with our discussion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, that concludes our official business for today. Our next open meeting is scheduled for Thursday, April 6th, 2023, so no meeting next week.
I move that we stand adjourned until Thursday, April 6, 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right.